What up, though, everybody? This is Kyle, and you are watching Knockouts and 3 Counts. Thank you for coming back and checking out what is now our UFC Vegas post show. And as you can see, that's not Fez. Corey has come back. He didn't love us for a couple weeks and didn't want to talk about the fights. He said, "Fuck y'all." But we brought him back. We're back to talk about last night's UFC Vegas. Before we get started, you know how we do. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Detroit Knockout, at Detroit NOKOUT. Make sure you're following the show at KO3C Pod on Twitter and Instagram. The links to that will be in the description. And as well as that subscribe button, which you need to hit so you don't miss our interview that's coming this Tuesday night, 9 p.m. with the UFC juggernaut that's been coming out lately from Grand Rapids in Jamal Hill. He will be live Tuesday night, 9 p.m., live on Facebook. Make sure you don't miss it. Well, Corey, you're back.
I'm glad to be back. Thanks for having me. I'm sure as most of your guests here can, or not guests, but fellow viewers of the show can relate to, life's been busy, man. Everything's opening back up, and it's been a tight schedule again. You know, I've been trying to get used to running the steady 40 plus working after, plus hanging with these kids. So I'm glad to be back, but, you know, life gets in the way once in a blue moon. So, well, but either way, glad to be back.
You already know what it is. Throw out that Twitter and let them know where they can find you.
Fight Fan from the 313. That's the only – it's on Twitter, Fight Fan from the 313. If you look me up, I don't even really use it like that, though, but yeah. It was a hell of a fight night, huh? It was pretty entertaining. I feel like
I would say all in all it was, man, but there was a lot of bullshit that happened, which we're going to get into that. But, you know, I know, like I said, we only really talked about the main card in the preview, but, I mean, we had plenty of time to talk about the prelims when they only lasted 30 seconds.
That was crazy. I know you were catching them on your ride home from work, so you were, you know, you might not have caught quite as much.
Not that I missed the prelim, so.
Not that there was a ton to catch, because like you said, the first fight I think was a whole 40 seconds. The second fight I think was a whole 30 seconds, and then the third fight I think was a whole 20-something seconds. So I mean, all in all, you missed about 2 minutes of fighting. You didn't miss too much, bud.
Okay, so tell them quick about the fights. Who won and knocked them out, since you got to see. I got
the list in front of me because, forgive me, I am very American born here, and my pronunciation of some of these names is not going to be great. But Christian Aguilera, I think that's how you say that, was the winner in the opening fight of the night. He won via knockout. It was just shy of a minute. I lied. I got it right in front of me. It was at 59 seconds. Then you got Tyson Nam, who always looked like he just couldn't put things together, but finally kind of just let them hands go a little bit and really looked like he was able to show what he has been trying to do this whole time in his UFC career. I think the standout of the night, in my opinion, was actually the third fight of the night, which was Julia Avila. This girl came out there. Gina Mazzani landed one hard shot, and it immediately said, "We're in a fight? Okay." Threw one hard knee to the solar plex, kind of wobbled her a little bit, and just was relentless. Just do. That lasted a whole 22 seconds. So it didn't take long, but she looked very dominant in the whole 22 seconds. My other standout of the night, this is going to be a real hard one. Mariana Arapova. She looked great in her fight as well. Over Hannah Cyphers. That was actually the opening fight of the main card. So I guess we're jumping right into it.
All right, so we're jumping into it. As Corey said, you know, the first fight was Mariah Agapova versus Hannah Cyphers, you know, and Corey reminded me when we were watching the fights, you know, that she's coming off of just fighting 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, Hannah Cyphers is really kind of, stepping up and trying to get in there and get in the cage like that. That being said, I want to pose this question to you because I brought it up to Jorge, who was with us earlier for the prediction video. We talked about it a little bit last night when we were watching the fights, but do you think that they're having a lot more of the guys who are on losing streaks fight because the other guys are kind of trying to feel it out, or because they want to kind of wait it out until there's people, or what do you think? And do you think that that's advantageous for them?
I think that your last point just hit the nail on the head for the most part. Most of the bigger name people are waiting for other bigger name people, fellow ranked fighters, to be willing to accept the fight. And I think a lot of them aren't wanting to go to Fight Island, and then other ones aren't necessarily able to go to Vegas at the moment. So they can only book so many fights on these cards, That being said, though, I think it might be a money thing too. They're able to put on these cards and gather fighters that are only making the 15 and 15 compared to putting on a bunch of stars, and people are still watching because there isn't anything else on. So I could see how that could they could just be feeding in the lower end competition to try to build a name up, to be able to build their name while there isn't any other sport going on. Because I'm sure a lot of these people, like I watched an interview, Aljamain Sterling does his podcast, but I think I seen it on Ariel Hawani's show. He was talking, and he was saying he got like a 50,000 boost in his Twitter, just in his followers, just off of his impressive performance. So I mean, I think maybe the UFC might be doing that as well. They might be just trying to build a name for some of these lower, tier guys.
Which, if that's the case, that's something that's been needed to happen for quite a while. Well, let's get back to what the real reason why we're here. So, like we said, Hannah Cyphers, she lost in her fight 2 weeks ago, steps back into the cage here tonight. Now, first of all, she was very, very tough. There's no argument there.
She always looks tough.
She got in there and banged.
Always winning fights, though.
She banged, dude. But to me, I feel like it was very clear that Agapova was the more superior of the two. I mean, she took Hannah Cyphers to school.
Yep, absolutely. And it was like you said, it was almost like a skill technique versus toughness match. And not saying Arapova is not tough, because she definitely looked like she could, back up what she was doing. But she looked impressive, man. She looked really impressive. I'm excited to see what she does. That was 115s, right? That was strawweight?
Yeah.
No, that was flyweight. It's flyweight.
Yep. That one was a flyweight bout. Yep.
The next fight on the card, though, I'm going to jump to that one. Jordan Espinoza. He looked impressive, but that being said, Mark De La Rosa kind of looked like he's on his way out, huh?
He didn't look too good, dude. I mean, straight up. Like, I picked De La Rosa thinking that he might be able to get this one, but, I mean, dude, Espinoza put on a fucking clinic. I mean, this dude was boxing the shit out of him. Great movement, was popping him with the jab. And then when De La Rosa went to go take him down, man, Espinoza was still able to stop the takedowns. He was landing good shots that were doing damage. And he didn't take very much damage. I feel like even that was one of those fights where, when you watch it, you're like, a lot of times you say a decision doesn't do a lot for a guy, but I mean, he won dominantly.
In a decision like that, yeah, like where you look dominant and you actually look like you severely outclassed your opponent, yeah, that a decision is just as impressive in my book. But like I said,
so do you think De La Rosa gets cut now?
I mean, I would imagine so. I mean, he was already on a 2 or 3 fight losing streak going into this fight
streak, I believe.
And then to lose another one against somebody who was also on a 2 fight losing streak, it's not looking too well for my boy. Yeah.
All right.
That being said, though, let's jump into some more of the entertaining, because even though Jordan Espinosa did look good, Mark De La Rosa really let that. Yeah, it was an fight because Mark De La Rosa really didn't have anything for him. He just wanted to hold him up against the cage and I guess make like his face was a pad for him to hold. I guess I don't know. It didn't look well.
The next fight we had was Andre Fili, Touchy Fili versus Charles Jourdain. Now, I got to be honest. And when I first saw this fight, I'm like, well, Touchy Fili is going to kick this guy's ass. But I have to give credit where it's due. I feel like Jourdain came out and he, at least in the first round. In the first round, he really came out swinging, and landed some decent shots. But I almost kind of feel like it was like that wake-up thing where, like once, Touchy Fili woke up, it's kind of like Jourdain quickly realized there's levels to this shit. Like,
well, I think Paul Felder also, not to interrupt, but I think Paul Felder also made a really good point that he blocked a couple of those good, solid head kicks one-handed. And, whenever you try to do that, man, it looked like he got a good finger on the arm, dude. It looked like he wasn't quite able to defend like he would like.
Yeah, and I mean, and the thing with that is too, like for those who don't know, like if you take a shot in the, if you take a shot in the side of the ear, that knocks off your equilibrium, that messes with you. And then not even from that standpoint, if you get socked in the arm like that, I mean, I've seen that break dudes' arms from getting kicked in the arm and break a dude's forearm. So
that's what Paul Felder was originally kind of noting at, was he might be potentially broke his arm, but luckily enough, I seen in the post-fight interview, he said it definitely affected him. That was his words, is it definitely affected him, but it was more of a stinger. And he said by the end of like the midway point of the second round, it wasn't even really an issue anymore.
I mean, on that note, though, I mean, it was a great performance for Andre Fili. I mean, once he turned it up, I mean, he really, like I said, showed that there's levels to this shit. Like he really put it on Jourdain, and I really feel like outclassed him in a lot of ways. Not to, talk bad or like anything like that, but I feel like he just outclassed him. But, now that raises the next question where it's like, okay, so who does Touchy Fili get next?
Yeah. Well, and we were watching the fights together, and what was do you remember what I brought up? Yeah. I was like, he technically lost his last fight, but I think anybody who actually watched that would have probably gave it to Fili. There might have been, that was definitely, in my eyes, Fili won the last fight. That being said, he was on a 5-fight win streak before that, so that would have been 6. This would have been 7. I was saying all night, I kind of felt like it was a disrespect to Fili to give him somebody not even in the top 15, let alone to give him somebody who's, on his second fight in the UFC. So.
Yeah, and I mean, there's no arguing that. I mean, like I said, I get, wanting to give a guy a shot, which, again, I feel like part of the thing with this matchup is I feel like it was probably a situation where, Touchy Fili wanted to fight, and this is the guy that was willing to step up, and this is the guy that was willing to step up and take the fight. But I mean, props to him for taking the fight. I think this probably will raise his stock even a little bit, even in a loss, because he still got in there and fought. But I mean, at this point, I feel like Andre Fili needs to get a step up in competition.
Yeah, I agree. I think top 15 would be very appropriate. I even think top 10 coming off a loss would be appropriate. Touchy Fili is a hell of a game opponent, and I feel like he's one of those guys that win, lose, draw, he always puts on a good fight. So I could definitely – and I think they were just saying this was like his 15th fight in the UFC under 30.
Yep.
So, he's got a nice track record underneath him, a good amount of experience. I could definitely see him doing some things in the coming years.
All right. Well, the next fight turned out to be a damn barn burner, dude. You had Charles Rosa versus Kevin Aguilar.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was a good fight. That was a damn good fight. I feel like this one was an arguable decision on both points. I feel like you could have argued for either guy to have won that fight. I feel like Kevin Aguilar was another person that I was making note of last night that I was saying, usually win, lose, or draw looks like he is game to fight. I feel like this was the least of those fights. He looked like he was kind of measured too much. He looked like he was looking to counter maybe too much and not be offensive enough, in my opinion. What'd you see out there? I mean, not taking away from Charles De La Rosa, because he looked really good out there. He did his thing, but I feel like Kevin Aguilar could have put the pace on him a little bit more, and the fight might have went a different direction.
Well, Charles Rosa, not De La.
I thought
De La Rosa was the first one. He's Rosa. But anyway, Charles Rosa really came out to show up in this fight. Like, I feel like as the fight went later on, I feel like Rosa really kind of turned it up. But I mean, Aguilar in the beginning cut up Rosa, and had a pretty nice cut that was dripping into his eye on his forehead. I mean, so it's not like Aguilar didn't do any damage, but as they talked about in the fight, Charles Rosa has had a few start and stops. He kind of was on a tear for a while, and then he got hurt, and then he had a second injury. So I kind of feel like people might not give him the credit he should just because he's had the start and stops. I think this is a good fight for him because it shows he's tough, and it's an exciting fight, so it'll make people want to see him fight again.
Help him get off that Bryce Mitchell hump too.
And I mean, dude, losing to Bryce Mitchell is not any slouch, dude. Because
no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm not saying it in that way.
I totally understand. I mean, yeah, a loss is a loss, but I mean, Bryce Mitchell is on a tear and an up and coming killer. Yeah. So I mean, to lose to him, I'm not saying that it's a good thing, but it's not like it's not like he lost to a guy who's completely unranked and it's his first fight in the UFC.
Yeah, absolutely.
So all in all, I thought it was a good performance for Charles Rosa. Like I said, for me, all in all, a good performance. Took a little bit of damage, but it was a good win. The next fight, I got plenty to say. So I'll let you go first. We are talking about Marvin Vettori versus Carl Roberson.
Marvin Vettori's been waiting for it. Takes less than a round to take care of it.
Oh, this one. So, as I'm sure most of you guys know, if you're following this, you've probably seen the altercation and stuff in the hotel and stuff. So these guys have been having some good amount of beef leading into this fight. This was, the third time that this was scheduled? Before you get into what you have to say, did the fight lead up to your expectations?
No, because all the shit talk that Carl Roberson did, he didn't back up any of it.
Agreed. I feel like
he talks so much shit about how, the last one was just an accident because of the circumstances. Well, you knew this was coming coming, bro. And especially after we've seen the way people have been training, you can't tell me your coach didn't open up your gym to you.
Yeah, I think maybe
the first time you get a little bit of leeway because this was all brand new. But then to get another shot at it, what was it, a month later, and you don't do shit and you do the same thing but even more weight? Come on, man.
So I feel like, and I said this, and I think this was actually in our last prediction video we did together, because I think that was when the fight originally got canceled. I said I didn't know too much about Carl Roberson, and I was wondering, what I was going to be able to see. Well, I ended up finding out a little more because I got a little more publicity out of this. I got bumped into a co-main spot and everything. But I ended up finding out that he had a pretty impressive kickboxing career, and that's actually where he came from. He's freshly into MMA. He's only a couple years in. So that being said, I definitely don't give him any slack. I think more so the shit talking and stuff was kind of brought
It's
upon
just to
him.
hype the fight, but
It was. I don't even think it was necessarily to hype the fight. I think Vettori, and he's made note of this before in his interviews and stuff. He likes to try to get in people's heads. He finds a real strategic advantage by being able to kind of see how people are going to react to how he talks,
sure, I
And,
think some of it was part of the game, but I think when somebody misses weight twice like that, man.
Yeah. And then has to pull out the day of the fight and stuff. I get Vettori's
Because here's the thing that people don't realize. Okay, so the first fight was a month ago, or the last time they were supposed to fight, was about a month ago. That means if that fight was already booked, that means you were already in camp or whatever for, or should have been. I mean, depending on when they got the call.
It was originally booked for one of the cards that got canceled because of the whole pandemic and stuff. So
right. So you knew it was coming, though. That's my thing. Like,
he knew it was coming once. It got canceled. Then he knew it was coming again. Then he missed weight and had to pull out because of it. Then it came again, and now he missed weight even worse.
Well, right. And the thing is, like, you can almost give somebody a pass on the first one because, okay, that's the first time you've tried to do it in the COVID. But then to do it again in this fight and then get your ass whooped.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're supposed to have more energy.
Yeah, you would think.
But
I think
at the same time, when
I made note of this to you too during the fight night, though. I think the reason why he was so heavy this time is I think he kind of just said, "Fuck it, I'm not so much worried about the little bit of money I'm gonna lose. I'm more so worried about actually making it to the fight. So screw it,
See, but even saying that though, like past guest of the show, Miles Jury has said in his videos, man, you think that that's a little percentage until you consider how much of the rest of that is getting taken by a gym, a coach, a whatever, medical bills, whatever. So that 30%, because he got charged 30%.
Yeah, I think you're right.
He got charged 30%. So, like, to lose 30%, and then you've got all the shit and taxes that come out of that.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money, bro. And then you lost.
Yeah. Didn't look well on him. I would like to see him up against somebody more fresher to the UFC. Vettori, I feel like, has been on a tear for a long time. I just feel like they always struggle to find him fights. So,
to get off of the thing with Roberson, just to talk about Vettori's performance as a whole, like the takedown that he had when he was getting up off his back to go and then put him on his back like that, and then to finish him with that choke, dude, that was beautiful.
Yeah, it was. It was
and such smart strategy, because keeping Roberson on the ground, even if that was what Roberson's game plan was, which I don't think it was, to keep him on the ground when the guy already missed weight, that's going to tire him out.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think Vettori looks good. I think he's another person, like we were saying with Healy. I think he definitely deserves a step up in competition. I think I could definitely see him fighting yet again somebody top 15, top 10.
I agree. I think after that performance, he definitely should get somebody in the top 15 at least, if not top 10. All right. Well, now we're at main event time. And since we're talking about missing weight, let's talk about what came out after the fight. It was reported by MMA Junkie. Cynthia Calvillo seems to think that Cynthia Calvillo seems to think that Jessica I pulled the towel trick at the weigh-in, that she was
Pulled the
more
old
than just
DC?
2.3 pounds over, you know?
Pulled the old DC, the tug on the towel.
Yeah, they're trying to say that she thinks she was like 3 to 4. She has text to prove that she was 3 to 4 pounds over. To where they're saying that Jessica I's coach is texting them and their management to let them know. So I don't know, man. That don't look good, especially when you're the number one contender.
No, what really doesn't look good is when you're the number one contender, you lose to somebody who wasn't even ranked in your division on their first fight in your division. Now, granted,
I don't think that
I
hurts
feel
so
like
much
I have,
with
I
Calvillo.
feel like I have a theme going on in this video, and I don't want it to come off this way. I feel like I'm not giving the winners enough credit, and I'm taking away from the losers' performances. I feel like the winners were the winners for a reason, but I feel like some of the losers on the night just didn't bring everything they could have.
So I agree with that, but I feel like with Calvillo, I mean, yeah, you can say that she's not ranked at that division, but I mean, dude, she was a fucking killer where she
Absolutely.
was and had a lot of good
Absolutely.
wins. So I think skill-wise alone, I feel like she is warranted the publicity in getting a shot like that. Especially when you take into account that Jessica I, has been having weight issues and she had that loss.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have such a problem with it.
Quick question. If you're the matchmakers, you're McMaynard right now. What do you do with Cynthia Calvillo after this win? Do you give her somebody like
she's number one contender now? You just beat the number one contender.
Yep, that's what I'm at. I mean, but they kind of already have the Joanne Calderwood Valentina fight kind of
Okay, so run that fight and she gets winner.
Already in the books. So what do? Do you give her somebody like a Chukagian?
Run the Valentina fight, and if everything with Khabib has taught anybody anything, run the Valentina fight, and then fight the winner. That's what I'd do if I was Calvillo, at least if that were the option. Now, say they make her fight somebody else. I mean, it can't not be somebody in the top 2 or 3.
No, absolutely.
How do you, like, she just beat the number one contender. How do you,
I think they give her a Caitlin Chukagian, and I think the winner of that would be the next fight.
I could see her getting a title shot just off that win, but if you're going to do that, yeah, I guess that's the only real fair way to do it.
Yeah. That being said, though, I hate to wrap this up a little short, but my phone is at a whole 2%.
Well, we made it. That we're through another fight card. Like I said, thanks for checking us out, man. Check Cory out. Cory will be back with us for more of the UFC predictions and reviews. Like I said, make sure you're checking us out this Tuesday, 9 p.m. Jamal Hill will be on with us, fresh off his W at UFC Apex. And like I said, Cory will be back with us for more of these videos. Check him out, Fight Fan from the 313. And until next time, make sure you hit that subscribe button and follow the show at KO3C Pod. Until next time.
Thanks for checking us out. Peace.